Only the ivory-colored Votives and Unity candle would carry the personalized scent, while the other candles would be dyed pastel shades to match the wedding's color scheme of purple, blue, and pink. Heaven. Really, I'd recommend the idea to anyone, and not just because I'd like the business. Now, I stretched my arms above my head and wiggled my toes, enjoying the memory of my biggest sales pitch, but moving on to the tasks at hand. In fact, now that Friday had come, I noticed that the morning air held a hint more of the sea than the scent Jessica had signed off on from the 5 samples I had created for her. I hated to admit it, but one scent in particular struck me as a better match to the weekend weather than the one she had chosen. It had a touch more sea salt and a dash more of white tea. It was late in the game for making changes, but I knew my customer. Only 2 days ago, Jessica had rescheduled the start of a rehearsal dinner so that she could hire a flock of doves to fly dramatically into the sunset. She was going for perfection. So was I. I calculated how late I'd be up if I remade over 200 gift candles and a Unity candle. Then I tossed off my blanket and sprinted across my squeaky floorboards to the kitchen of my 1-bedroom apartment, where I grabbed an iced coffee from my fridge. As I closed the door, a sign reading "Leftovers" made out of macaroni slid from its magnet. People like to name their houses on Nantucket. It's a thing. You'll see quarter boards inspired by sailing ships of yore hanging on one house after another with names like Serenity and Why Worry? My pasta quarter board was lovingly made by my cousin Chris's young son. Chris is a contractor, and the historic house outside of town that he and his wife bought and lovingly restored came with an old carriage house out back, which they turned into a garage with my apartment on top. It's a 1-bedroom with a living room and small kitchen, and other than painting it a soft blue throughout, it's mostly decorated with the items it held the first day I dropped my bags there, 7 years ago, after I graduated from college. Hence the name of my home and often the contents of my fridge. After throwing on my jeans and a thick sweater, I jumped into my red VW Beetle, still zipping up my boots. I cursed the back window that last weekend suddenly refused to close about the last 3 inches. The weather had been nicer during the week, and I'd forgotten to take the car to be fixed, but now it was cold. So cold, it took a minute for my phone to register my fingers as I dialed Emily to let her know I was heading over to my store and then to the Melville. In addition to offering my services to bring anything to the inn this morning, I wanted to make sure that Emily and I stayed on the same page. There was no room for surprises in her meticulously planned event. The call went to voicemail, but it was only 6 in the morning. Pulling out of the driveway, I left a message. When I reached town, the streets were quiet, and the morning fog still hung low. The vibe would be very different in a matter of hours, when tourists arrived for Memorial Day weekend, along with a mob of sailing enthusiasts who come each year for the island's one-of-a-kind annual sailing competition called Fagawi, which stands for Where the Explicative Are We? Correct pronunciation? Where the fug are we? The race started decades ago as a dare between 2 friends who at one point got lost en route to the island, hence the name. It is now an international sailing event that brings a great boon to local retail. Some folks go into shock over the onslaught of visitors, but the business girl in me looks forward to Fagawi all year. Rounding onto the bumpy cobblestone pavement of Main Street, which I like to describe as offering a full-body massage when experienced in my car, I saw my cousins Ted and Docker, who run a private trash removal business. They looked like they were loading nautical supplies into the back of their truck, which seemed a funny thing to do on Main Street, but they often have unusual jobs. I waved. They waved. My family, the rights have been...
To keep listening to this audiobook, I've left you a link in the description so you can do it, at no cost thanks to Audible's 30-day free trial.